Welcome back. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many of us know someone who has been impacted by breast cancer. And I caught up with Dr. John Williams, the founder of the Breast Cancer School for Patients. Take a look.
Thank you for having me, Curtis. As a breast cancer surgeon, family and friends call all the time asking with questions about breast cancer or whether they have a breast problem. And after a very short conversation, they were incredibly empowered when I shared with them the concepts with whatever they were encountering. And that's where I realized there's just something missing online in healthcare information, especially breast cancer. So that's why we created the Breast Cancer School for Patients, which is the very first free video-based website that has over 80 videos to teach women every concept they may encounter in breast health, and more importantly, if they're diagnosed with breast cancer.
I like this concept because obviously, as you know, everyone consumes information now through video. So there's so much information online to read, but how are your videos set up? How is it set up to help people find the information that's tailored to them?
Great question. And that was one of the most difficult things in creating this concept. Breast cancer includes about 50 or 60 different topics that all are pulled together uniquely for breast patients and breast cancer patients. And so what was the challenge, but I think we succeeded, is that we segregated the steps that a woman may walk through, such as getting a mammogram, getting a biopsy, seeing a breast surgeon, seeing a medical oncologist, seeing a radiation oncologist, and put those videos in the order that they will encounter them when they're visiting with me, let's say, as a breast cancer surgeon. So a woman will come in and see me. What are they thinking? They're wondering whether I need a mastectomy or a lumpectomy, and whether or not they may benefit from a breast MRI. So those topics and those videos are listed in that order because those are the things they're going to talk about with their surgeon. So they can learn about it, be well informed when they come in to visit me, but more importantly, wherever they are in their own community.
So this seems kind of like a hyper-specific telemedicine type style where everyone who goes through breast cancer is going to go through pretty much the same exact things. So it's set up kind of like that. Is that a growing trend in the medical industry? Is the telemedicine, like contacting with doctors through video? And
it is a growing trend, especially from hospital to hospital. But I like how you describe that. It's sort of a form of free, personalized telemedicine in your own home. So you have breast specialists teaching you on video about what are the ups and downs of getting a mammogram at 40 or 45 or 50, or should I get a 3D mammogram? And a breast specialist is communicating the key concepts. Information's important, but when you have to make a complex decision about your health, it's more conceptual. And then you can take that information from your virtual telemedicine in your home and engage your regular doctor about when to start mammograms or if you should get 3D mammogram. And then most of the information is also about how to get higher quality breast cancer care in your own community through information.
Such important information, Doc. I really appreciate your time. As we wrap up here, which breast cancer awareness kind of fundraisers, causes are you part of? And then where can our viewers get information about all of this?
Well, one organization I'm not affiliated with, but I refer patients to, are younger women diagnosed at the age of 40 or younger. And the Young Survival Coalition is a wonderful organization that connects younger women with each other to support one another. You can imagine if you're 30 and you have breast cancer, how that is different when you have little children, maybe want to have more children, you're just starting your life. And they really wrap their arms around younger women and educate them. But thank you for having me. The Breast Cancer School for Patients is not for profit. It's available to everyone, and you can find us at breastcancercourse.org.
And a special thanks to Premier TV for bringing us that information.